WCBI News at 6 starts now.
Good evening, everyone. A man's body is pulled from Luxapalila Creek this morning. Now investigators are trying to determine how he died.
Columbus Fire and Rescue recovered the unidentified man's body a little more than 500 yards from the Luxapalila Park boat landing. Investigators were called to the scene just before 8 after a passerby spotted the body. Lowndes County Coroner Greg Merchant says an autopsy will be conducted. Right now, Merchant is classifying this incident as a death investigation. The autopsy will help determine the cause of death. Merchant says the man has been identified
as Willie Cotton from Columbus.
Willie Cotton of Columbus. Lux Park is owned and operated by the city of Columbus, but it is in the county. The Lowndes County Sheriff's Department is handling the initial investigation. If the death is found to be a result of a crime, Columbus police will take over that investigation.
New at 6, one of the men charged in a deadly Lowndes County home invasion pleads guilty. Cameron Merriweather will spend 40 years in prison after the guilty plea to second-degree murder. He was sentenced today in Lowndes County Circuit Court. Merriweather is one of 2 men charged in the crime. William Stallings was shot and killed in May 2011 at a home on Harrison Road. A jury convicted Joshua Taylor on capital murder charges in the case. 3 others face accessory charges in that investigation.
The mother of an Atala County toddler pled guilty today to a murder charge. Sheriff Tim Nell says Tammy Mann is facing 35 years in prison after pleading guilty to second-degree murder in a Winston County court. Her 18-month-old daughter, Jasmine Irwin, died in 2015, suffering a fractured skull, bruises, and burns to her feet. Shortly after the child's death, relatives say Mann told them the child fell. Mann and the child's father, Jasper Irwin, have 4 children together. Family members told us in 2015 that the other 3 children are in foster care.
Lee County deputies are searching for a killer tonight after a woman is found dead in her carport. Deputies were called to a home in Shannon for an alarm at a house, at a home there. Molly Gladney was found at the County Road 54 home on Sunday a little after 6 p.m. Lee County Sheriff Jim Johnson says evidence shows some type of struggle took place and foul play is likely. Investigators have collected evidence at the scene, including 2 vehicles.
There was evidence inside the home that's where we believe the incident started taking place, and it inadvertently ended up outside. But yes, there is strong evidence that there was a physical struggle between this particular victim and whoever the attacker was.
Coroner Carolyn Green has ordered an autopsy to determine an exact cause of death.
Starkville police are investigating a Sunday night accident that left a bicyclist dead. Police say 54-year-old John J. Burrell was riding his bike on Highway 25 near Pine Lake Church when he was struck by a vehicle. When crews got there, Burrell was unresponsive. His body is being sent to Pearl for an autopsy. That accident remains under investigation tonight. Well, cyclists all around the area tell us they're being extra cautious on the road. There are state laws in place to protect them. Yeah, WCBI's Selena Schaefer takes a look at what's on the books and also speaks with a crash survivor. She joins us live in the studio with more. Selena?
When riding our bikes, we hear it all the time. Wear a helmet and watch for cars. But sometimes the cars aren't always watching us.
My husband over there said he didn't know for the first 2 weeks if I was even going to live.
Jan Morgan is the owner of Boardtown Bikes in Starkville. She knows firsthand the dangers of riding your bike on the roadways.
A car hit me from behind. Eyewitnesses said it was probably going 70 miles an hour.
Morgan was an avid cyclist who practiced all the proper laws. But 7 years ago this month, she experienced every bicyclist's worst nightmare.
She ran over me again, ran over my head, stopped with her tire on my head.
And that was just the beginning.
I was in a coma for 5 weeks, on a ventilator for 5 weeks. I had a trach. I don't know if I still got the scar there.
She's not only scarred physically, but emotionally as well.
Oh, I don't get back on the road. And I have several friends. The girl that was riding with me does not ride anymore.
Law enforcement say motorists need to share the roadway.
In situations where there's not a bicycle lane, that bicycle has the same rights to the road as that vehicle does.
The John Paul Ferrer Bicycle Safety Act was put in place back in 2001 after the Tupelo teen was run over while riding a bike.
That law states that even when there isn't a bike lane, motorists still need to abide by the 3-foot law, keeping from any cyclist on the road.
Just respect cyclists because they actually have a right to be on the road. I know a lot of drivers feel differently, but the law says we have a right to be on the roadways.
Morgan hopes her story can educate riders.
I hope that people will continue to cycle. I mean, yeah, what I had was horrible, but I am one of the fortunate ones. I recovered, I'm doing well. Jay was just not.
Now, for more details on all bike laws pertaining to Mississippi, you can visit our website at WCBI.com. Andrea, Joey.
All right, Selena in the studio with some good information there.
Yeah. All right, time now to turn our attention to weather. Chief Meteorologist Keith Gibson joins us with a first look. Keith?
Weather-wise, right now we are mostly sunny. Look at these warm temperatures. We are in the low and mid 80s across the board here in northeast Mississippi and west Alabama. That's a live look in Tupelo. No problems whatsoever with our Alpha Insurance camera. As we go throughout the course of the evening, we're looking at some low to mid 80s now. By 11 o'clock, we're down into the upper 60s, down to about 60 tonight. Pushing 90 all week long. The humidity is going to come on back. Rain chances will come on back as well. More on that in just a few minutes.
All right, thanks, Keith. A Mississippi Department of Transportation worker is injured after a fire at a Starkville convenience store this morning.
It took firefighters just a few minutes to put the blaze out. Our Quentin Smith has more on exactly what happened there this morning.
It was at this Sprint Mart just off of Highway 12 East where a fire broke out. Investigators were called out to the scene at 8:20 Monday morning. And when they arrived, investigators say a puff of black smoke filled the air.
Once we arrived on scene, what we found was a tractor that had a bush hog attached to the back of it, was fully engulfed in flames along with the gas pumps that were sitting right next to it.
Starkville Fire Marshal Mark McCurdy is ruling Monday's fire accidental. He says the MDOT worker was driving a tractor with a mower attached to it. The mower accidentally clipped the gas pump as the driver was pulling in to get diesel. This caused the internal pipes in the pump to break. McCurdy says the fire started once the MDOT worker got out of the tractor and tried to pump diesel.
The driver actually had backed up, backed away from the pump a little bit and gotten out of the tractor. And when he stepped down off the tractor and reached his hand towards the nozzle of the gas pump, static electricity from his body to the pump where the fuel had spilled out ignited. And then from there, you had a big fireball that caught the tractor on fire and caught the gas pumps and the awning of the gas station on fire.
The driver was initially caught in the fire, but quick thinking saved him.
As soon as he was in the fire, he did what we always teach, that stop, drop, and roll. So he actually stopped and dropped on the ground, and he started rolling back and forth. So he was able to actually essentially put himself out by rolling back and forth on the ground.
McCurdy says the built-in fire system at the store prevented the fire from being much worse.
When the pumps actually get hit, when the pipe came loose, the safety valve closed. So there was no extra fuel being pumped to the fire from underneath. It was just the few gallons that were already in the pumps above. This is what actually caught on fire. So thank goodness the safety features in the gas pump worked just like they're designed to do, just like they're supposed to do, so it limited the fire in size.
Now the MDOT worker who was involved in the fire was flown to Jackson for treatment of his burns. And again, investigators are ruling this fire accidental. Reporting in Starkville, Quentin Smith, WCBI News.
City elections aren't quite done. Many head back to the polls tomorrow.
We find out more about the work that goes into a runoff when we come back.
Runoff elections are tomorrow. In Starkville, there will be 2 runoffs, the mayor's race and the Ward 1 alderman's race.
Runoffs aren't uncommon or cheap and mean extra work for the Election Commission and city clerk's offices. Our Jory Talley spends the day with the people making all of this possible. She joins us live in the studio with more. Jory.
Andre and Joey, elections take place every 4 years in Starkville.
And this go-around, some voters will be voting 3 different times instead of 2 for the primary and general elections.
When it's election season, we think of the candidates and who to cast our vote for, but we may forget about the people behind the scenes.
The Election Commission probably has between 400 and 500 hours wrapped up in this election.
A lot of work goes into making an election possible, and a runoff election is no different.
A runoff, we don't have as many candidates on the ballot, but this requires almost as much work as the general or the primary.
Some of the prep work includes making sure the 6 different voting spots have everything they need.
The election commissioners are printing the ballots for tomorrow. We are counting them out. We're double checking the poll books and it's just in loading the supply boxes and getting the ballot box seals ready. And it's a lot of paperwork and a lot of time.
Runoffs require just about the same manpower as it does for general and primary elections, but costs are a little lower. They drop from nearly $8,000 to around $5,000 in these extra elections.
We pay the poll workers $125 a day. This will require a minimum of 24 poll workers. We are doing paper ballot this time because to have the company send down a tech to program the machines is $750 a day, and we would need them 3 to 4 days.
The city budgets and pays for runoff costs, and this one might be higher than the budgeted amount.
Usually not ward-wide with a mayor. Usually there will be an alderman race or in one ward, so it's not as much of an expense, but doing it all wards this time is an expense.
Now, if you voted Democratic in the primaries, then you cannot vote for the GOP Ward 1 Alderman runoff race tomorrow. If you didn't vote at all during the primaries, then you can vote in tomorrow's runoff.
Clear, calm, and comfortable tonight, down to around 60. The moon shining overhead again tonight, so no problems here. We'll start to warm things up and moisten things up later this week. Full forecast is next.
Your First Alert weather forecast with Chief Meteorologist Keith Gibson.
6:15 now, a gorgeous day with all that sunshine, a pretty nice evening setting up as well. Currently in Columbus, we are at 84 degrees. The wind is calm, humidity 48%, fairly dry air in place. We'll take it down to about 60 degrees tonight. And for right now across the rest of the region, mid and upper 80s here in Mississippi and Alabama. It's a warm Monday as we've jumped into the work week. No problems here. Now, tomorrow, your Tuesday, you're probably wondering what's the weather going to be like. Well, how about more sunshine, a few friendly clouds, 70 at 8 o'clock, 85 at noon. So I highly suggest you go and find a shaded spot if you will be taking lunch outdoors tomorrow, around 90 during the mid to late afternoon. So a few degrees warmer than where we are right now. Upper 80s to low 90s across the board. Wind fairly light, though, a little bit stronger though than today from the south at about 5 to 10 miles per hour. You can see the showers and storms up here across the Great Lakes. Big time storms blowing up here in Iowa. Severe thunderstorm watch, severe thunderstorm warnings going up there. Wind and hail, the main threats. Also across the high plains. The Black Hills of South Dakota right here, Wyoming, down into parts of Montana and western South Dakota, we have a severe thunderstorm watch, some big-time storms, hail producers likely out that way. And same story here across the high plains of Colorado and Texas and Kansas and Oklahoma, more wind and hail. So that's where the strong storms are today, and they're going to be out in that general area tomorrow. So the severe weather threat is staying back to our northwest with this summer-like weather pattern. We have high pressure setting up down here in the southeast, and that usually deflects a lot of the activity with the jet stream back to the north during the summer. And that's exactly what's going on right now. We have all this dry air in place. Now, as we go through the latter part of the work week, that deep tropical moisture is going going to come on back. The high pressure eases a little bit. So high pressure will go away, and we'll see some of this tropical moisture squeeze back on in here. And that will support a daily chance for some showers and storms here. But not everyone's going to see that moisture. Tomorrow, obviously, no problems here. We basically just expect to see a few friendly clouds, much like today. Southerly breezes develop, and that southerly wind will usher in a little bit more moisture just about every day here. As we get into Wednesday, some of those storms back to our west, also down here to our southeast, and we'll try to get some of that moisture back into our viewing area as we get into your Thursday. So a chance for one of those showers or storms during the heating of the day. Starting Thursday, that will continue into your Friday and the weekend. The best chance of rain here probably Sunday, so pretty scattered until then, pretty warm as well.
Columbus police remember fellow officers killed in the line of duty. A National Peace Officer Memorial Day service ceremony was held at CPD headquarters this morning. The agency remembers fallen officers each year at the service. There were prayers, songs, and wreath-laying ceremonies. Policemen say it's important to remember those who have died while wearing the badge. Coming up, the SEC race is nearing its end on the diamond. We'll run through the latest conference standings and college baseball rankings coming up next in sports.
WCBI Sports with Robbie Donahoe is brought to you by your local Ford dealers. Go further.
The series loss to Georgia by Mississippi State has now put the Bulldogs in a difficult position to win the SEC outright. Still a very, very slim chance. Ole Miss, though, looking very good, taking 2 or 3 from A&M, and the Rebels' chances of getting to the postseason now much better after this following weekend. Here's a look at the SEC West standings. Still, MSU can win the West Division if they take 2 or 3 from the Tigers this weekend. You see the Rebels are at 13 and 14, but they're in pretty good shape in terms of seeding for the SEC tournament because the SEC West sort of on the higher end compared to the SEC East. But the full SEC standings for Mississippi State to take a share of the SEC crown, they need to win 2 or 3, or they need to sweep LSU, and they need Kentucky to take 2 or 3 from Florida this weekend. So it's not outside the realm of possibility, but it doesn't look like it could happen. But we'll still wait and see. MSU could very well sweep LSU. Kentucky, though, winning 2 or 3 at Florida, you never know. But this has been a weird SEC baseball season. Your newest college baseball polls have Mississippi State now down to 13 in the coaches poll. Florida is at the highest SEC team at 5, with LSU now propelled up to 6. Ole Miss still receiving votes. Southern Miss is on a ridiculous roll right now. They're up to 17, in good shape to host a regional in Hattiesburg. MSU is ranked inside the top 15 of the 5 major polls. Perfect Game still doesn't like the Bulldogs for some reason. We're not sure why, but you see MSU is in the top 10 in D1 Baseball's poll and collegiate baseball. The Bulldogs will have LSU coming to Dudy Noble for a Thursday, Friday, Saturday series. Before that series starts, midweek for MSU against Troy at home starting at 6:30. For Ole Miss, they will have 4 road games this week. Tuesdays at Arkansas State, and then Thursday through Saturday on the Plains. Really good chance for Ole Miss to get at the very least 2 or 3. Auburn has been in a downward spiral over the last few weeks, so who knows? Maybe the Rebels can really start to put it together as we get towards the postseason. Well, speaking of baseball, the state titles are getting ready to be awarded at Pearl at Trustmark Park as our 6 state championship games just about all set and ready to go. We're waiting for one other game. We'll talk about that here in a moment. Your Tuesday schedule, our Jonathan Flippo will be down there for Nanawaya Smithville, Seminary Moorville, and Pearl River Central Oxford. On Wednesday, still waiting to see who Tupelo is going to play. It's either going to be Gulfport or Oak Grove. That game's going to be played tonight. You see East Union and Corinth are also in there as well. And you notice all these games are going to be televised on our cable station, My Mississippi, so check your local listings to find that on your channel listings. Thursday's schedule, 4A, 6A, and 3A, and then 5A, it will be 5A, 2A, and 1A on Friday. And if any games need to be played, again, that Friday schedule, 5A, 2A, and 1A, or 5A, 1A, 2A, I should say. And if there's any Saturday games that need to be played, they will be there if necessary. And in softball, we're getting pretty good here in Magnolia State in the SEC. Both MSU and Ole Miss will be playing in regionals this year with the Rebels hosting. We have all 13 SEC schools playing in an NCAA regional. You see Ole Miss will have Southern Illinois starting on Friday. Mississippi State will be in Salt Lake City taking on BYU in the first game on Thursday. And Alabama will start their regional on Friday. Well, they will take on Albany. We will recap it all coming up this weekend. And lastly, over the weekend, MSU head football coach Dan Mullen gave the commencement address to the graduates at his alma mater. That's Ursinus College in Collegeville, Pennsylvania. Mullen, a 94 graduate of the school, played football for the Bears and was an all-conference tight end. That's all for sports. We get a last look at the forecast when we come back.
Plenty of sunshine the next few days, plenty of heat as well. You'll notice the humidity increase by Wednesday, and then those shower possibilities return on Thursday. So it's not that bad, it's just warm, but it will become increasingly humid later this week.
I don't want to hear humidity, okay?
I know.
More importantly, my hair doesn't want to hear humidity.
It is.
And I say this every year this time, I don't have to worry about that.
You don't, so maybe I need to go to your stylist.
Please don't.
Oh boy. All right, have a good night, everybody.
Bye.